Hello guys, this is InfoRx. We are the tech experts. If you need tech-related information, subscribe our channel and click the bell button. Follow our social media pages. Okay, let's go to the topic. Armari Magnetar M64T7 review. This AMD Ryzen Threadripper 7000 series workstation takes performance to entirely new levels with a custom liquid cooler that allows the processor to boost well above its typical all-core frequencies. Writes Greg Cork, one of the advantages of buying a workstation from a specialist system builder is that they sometimes squeeze every last drop of performance out of key components. This is especially true with CPUs. One of the best in the business is UK firm Armari, which has developed exceedingly powerful workstations for decades and, as we found in our last two reviews, knows how to get the absolute best out of AMD's multi-core Ryzen Threadripper processors. For its new Zen for Feed Threadripper 7000 series workstation, the Magnetar M64T7, Armari has managed to significantly increase the performance of a standard Threadripper processor, so much so that an overclocked 64-core high-end desktop head model, the AMD Ryzen Threadripper 7980X, can beat a standard 96-core AMD Ryzen Threadripper Pro 7995WX in some workflows. Before we get into the details, let's first talk about overclocking in general. In years gone by, Armari had to manually tweak frequencies and voltages to boost the performance of each processor. Then AMD released Precision Boost Overdrive PBO, and the process of overclocking essentially became automated, pushing up all-core frequencies so long as sufficient cooling was in place. Of course, good cooling takes engineering expertise. In the past, Armari developed a full water loop FWL cooling system, which required regular maintenance with liquid coolant changes and plumbing inspections. For its latest workstation, it has gone for an all-in-one I/O cooler, which is far more straightforward. Armari's I/O is different to many others on the market in that it covers the entire rectangular integrated heat spreader IHS of the Threadripper Pro CPU, so heat generated by the massive processor transfers more efficiently to the cooler. Other AIOs that are being used with Threadripper processors are circular, so don't reach the extremities, round peg, square hole, if you will. The result is an extremely efficient liquid-cooled system that keeps thermals well under control and allows the processor to boost to very high all-core frequencies, resulting in a double-digit performance boost. Nothing in life is free, of course, and the downside to extracting more performance from the processor is the need to feed in more power. At standard settings, the Threadripper 7000 series draws 350W. By enabling PBO, power can go up all the way up to 700W. Users have full control over this by simply changing a PBO setting in the BIOS of the ASUS Pro WST RX50SA FE Wi-Fi motherboard. The CPU can be boosted to the desired level. It's all controlled by setting thermal boundaries. Level 3 limits the temperature of the processor to 70 degrees Celsius and raises the sustained PBO to around 500W. Level 2 takes it up to 80 degrees Celsius, around 600W, and Level 1 up to 90 degrees Celsius, around 700W, which is the upper limit of the AIO cooler. This might sound hot, but AMD considers 95 degrees Celsius to be safe. That's as far as temperature goes. AMD's product warranty does not officially cover any damages caused by overclocking, but Armari has stated that PBO tuning is a supported and fully warranted feature of the Magnetar M64T7. In short, Armari knows what it's doing. What about performance? PBO can make a big difference to performance in ray trace rendering software. Going from PBO off and running the CPU at a stock 350W to level 370 degrees Celsius, which pumps 150W more into the processor, took all-core frequency from 3.56 GHz to 4.10 GHz and boosted Performance by 16% in Cinebench R23, 14% in Cinebench 2024, 20% in V-Ray, and 23% in Keyshot. If you're planning on rendering out a complex animation, for hours, this is a massive potential time saving. You can take performance even higher, but there are diminishing returns with each new level of PBO. Going from level 3 feet 70 degrees Celsius to level 1 foot 90 degrees Celsius took all-core frequency from 4.10 GHz to 4.56 GHz and boosted performance by an additional 7% in Cinebench R23, 6% in V-Ray, and 4% in Keyshot, but you burn a considerable to all west to get you there. We also observed no benefit at all in Cinebench 2024, which uses the Redshift rendering engine. Of course, even small boosts are important to some users, and with level 190 degrees Celsius enabled, the Armari Magnetar M64T7 even outpaced the leader of the Zen for feet pack, the 96-core Threadripper Pro 7995WX, in all our ray trace rendering benchmarks as tested in the Lenovo ThinkStation P8, as the 96-core 7995WX processor costs twice as much as the 64-core 7980X. This is certainly food for thought. In fact, you can buy the entire Armari workstation for only a tad more than the 96-core processor. PBO is not for everyone. In some workflows, there is no benefit at all. In engineering simulation, for example, in the WPCCFD computational fluid dynamics and calculus finite element analysis worksets from the Spec Workstation 3.1 benchmark, scores remained static even with more power draw. There's also no benefit to PBO in single-threaded or lightly threaded workflows, such as those typically used in CAD and BIM application like SolidWorks and Revit, but at least you are not wasting energy if PBO is enabled, as it never goes above 350W, as reviewed. The Armari Magnetar M64T7 can be considered more of a technology demonstration pre-production unit than a fully shipping product. When we tested the workstation in December 2023 as part of AMD's Threadripper 7000 series review program, Armari was putting the finishing touches to the machine and in the process of introducing an updated chassis. As part of the review program, AMD provided Armari with 128 GB of GSKILLZ5 Neo DDR5 6000 for 100 mount SEC memory. Spread across for 32 GB are DIM MIS. It maxes out the 4-channel architecture of the head Threadripper 7000 series platform. The GSKILLZ5 Neo DDR5 6000 for 100 mount SEC memory is not only faster than the typical 5600 mount SEC DDR5 memory that Armari would supply with this machine, but it also costs significantly more. In fact, if you specify 256 GB of 5600 mount SEC DDR5 memory instead of 128 GB of GSKILLZ5 Neo DDR5 6400, you'll save £100. In the Threadripper 7000 series, all memory operates at 5200 MT per second speeds by default, but like the processor itself, memory can be overclocked. In the Magnetar M64T7, Armari set the memory to run at full 6000 for 100 mount S memory speeds, delivering a significant boost in memory bandwidth. With a score of 152.15 GB SEC in the Sysoft Sandra benchmark, it wasn't that far off a Threadripper Pro 7000WX series workstation with 8-channel memory. As tested with 8 by 16 GB DDR 5600 DIM MIS running at 5200 speeds, the HP Z6G5A delivered to 106.1 GB ALSEC. Memory bandwidth has very little bearing on performance in ray trace rendering software. However, there are some select visualization workflows where it will make a difference. Recompiling shaders in Unreal Engine is one, which is probably why the Armari Magnetar M64T7 outpaced the Lenovo ThinkStation P8 with the 96-core 7995WX and 44800D DR5R DIM MIS. 113.86 GB SEC even with PBO off. We explore performance in much more detail and our in-depth review of the Threadripper 7000 series, both pro and high-end desktop head models. The chassis, unlike most other specialist system builders, Armari designs its own chassis. Our test machine was built around the company's M60G3 case, which features a strong steel frame and lightweight aluminum side panels. It's since been updated to a G for Edition, with changes largely made to accommodate very high-end NVIDIA GPUs. This includes a new ATX 3.0 PSU with native 1-to-VHPWR NVIDIA GPU power connectors, improvements to the cooling to support to NVIDIA RTX 4090s, and a new support brace to secure them in transit. The Armari M60G3 chassis is sizable. At 470 by 220 by 570 mm, it's much bigger than the Threadripper Pro 7000WX series workstations from Dell, HP, and Lenovo. A large part is taken up with the AIO cooler's heat exchanger, which is secured top left and cooled by three 12cm fans. Each memory bank has its own custom RAM cooler, which is 3D printed in-house by Armari. The rest of the machine is all about pushing air from front to back using a combination of large Fantic and Noctua intake and exhaust fans. Altogether, it contributes to a relatively quiet system, although fan noise does ramp up as PBO levels increase. But even when 700 West is being pushed through the CPU, it's not excessive. There are plenty of options for storage. Armari included a single-to-TB Crucial T700 PCIe Gen 5 SSD, but the motherboard can accommodate up to two more M2NVMe SSDs, 1X PCIe Gen 5 and 1X Gen 4. With a caddy for up to 3.5-inch hard disk drives HD disk, there's plenty of options to build on. This, for accessible I/O. All the ports are on the top of the machine, rather than the front, which is good or bad depending on where you keep your workstation. There's one USB 3.2 Gen to Type-C and two USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports. At the rear, you get one USB 3.2 Gen to Type-C, 6 USB 3.2 Gen to Type-A, and to USB 2.0. As the name of the motherboard suggests, the machine has Wi-Fi 6E built in. Of course, for most workstations of this type, it's all about maximum and consistent data transfer over the network, and this is done via the built-in 10 gigabits or 2.5 gigabits Ethernet. Armari did not provide a GPU, but we tested with a mid-range AMD Radeon Pro W7700 16 GB. Read our review. As mentioned earlier, it can take up to two super high-end NVIDIA GPUs. The verdict: it's impossible not to take notice of the Magnetar M64T7 simply because Armari has squeezed so much additional performance out of the already powerful Threadripper 7000 series processor. Dell, HP, and Lenovo simply can't compete on performance alone, outpacing the 96-core Threadripper Pro 7995WX processor with the 64-core Threadripper 7980X is a phenomenal feat. It can save you a lot of money, or because Armari can also configure this machine with the 96-core Pro chip, there's potential to take performance even higher. Of course, dialing up PBO does come with a cost, both in terms of power consumed and heat produced. We expect most users will choose some middle ground here. Armari ships the machine with Level 2 enabled, but customers can select whichever profile they prefer, including PBO off. It's not inconceivable that a user could temporarily invoke Level 1 when on a tight deadline, although this will require a reboot. In summary, Armari has delivered another excellent Threadripper workstation that not only stands out from the major OEMs, but many of the other specialist system builders as well. Thanks for watching this video. For more information, touch with us, comment your opinions about this